speak like course book dialogue. I have to speak in complete sentences with a verb and only one subject, and you don't speak like that. Yes, and so it's a danger, I think, is to assume that, and it's a danger for teachers to assess their learners' spoken language as if it were written language. No, we need to have different criteria for assessing spoken language and written language. Now, exposure, but you can see it's difficult to get this kind of data, these kinds of texts, to get them recorded with a nice, without too much background noise, etc. It's not easy. But fortunately now with YouTube and blah, 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 and so it's possible to find. Also, there's a compromise. There's an in-between genre. Many movies now, or particularly television programs, tend to try to replicate features of spoken language, even though it's scripted. And somebody did a study, in fact, looking at soap operas in Britain, things like EastEnders, etc., to see which of those soap operas was used, its language was the most like authentic spoken language. And that would be useful knowledge for us to know. We say, so apparently EastEnders, if you know British television, EastEnders is one of the ones that is most like authentic spoken language. So if you wanted to expose your students, that's something to do. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, any more last one? Yes, yes, Heidi.
I just have a comment from an American. Friends is also
Friends is fantastic.
One of my classmates did his dissertation, and the language of Friends is more like authentic conversation than any other.
Absolutely, thank you for that. And in fact, not only is, Friends, there's also, I think, there's a corpus of Friends language which you can search and use. So if you're looking for question tags, if you're looking for that. So yes, thank you, Heidi, very good point. We haven't mentioned, of course, the differences between American and other versions of English. Yes, one more question in the back, yes.
Yes, hi. Actually, I was curious, first of all, rubric in American English is it called, I mean, what do you call a rubric? Where you can measure someone's speaking performance. So I'm referring to that right now when I speak. Am I right that this is sort of a work in progress, spoken grammar, and being able to map, the student's performance on the rubric?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We haven't talked about this thing of assessment, but I think if you're assessing spoken language, you need a different rubric, and you're using the term correctly, a different set of criteria than you're assessing written language, clearly, because it's so different. I remember seeing once, years ago, the Cambridge proficiency exam for their spoken language. There was a handbook that came out from Cambridge, this was a long time ago, and one of the questions was, should we permit, slang in the spoken thing? And the answer from Cambridge was, yes, as long as it's grammatically correct. Slang is by definition not grammatically correct.
So grammar and mechanics is a totally different concept then when it comes to...
I think it's a different concept. I wouldn't say it's totally different, but it's definitely different. And I don't think accuracy is a high priority necessarily in spoken language, as is idiomaticity. Idiomaticity is sounding, using it. So that would be my criteria. How idiomatic does it sound, as opposed to how accurate it is. But that's a whole other conversation. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. It's been wonderful.